She's fanning herself.
Okay, is everybody ready?
I do not.
Okay, we all ready? Gossip's done? Good. Welcome to the Lancaster City Council meeting. City Clerk. Fran, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. I never would have called it to order had I known. I'm serious, I wouldn't have. I blame Allison for not indicating to me that you weren't ready yet.
Yeah, because you were blocking Allison's view.
All right. City Clerk, roll call.
Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Member Mann.
Present.
Underwood Jacobs.
Present.
Vice Mayor, Vice Chairman Christ.
Present.
Mayor Chairman Paris.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The invocation tonight is with Teresa Malloy from the Spiritual Assembly of, how do you say, Baha'i, yeah, of Lancaster.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you for coming.
It's just a simple little prayer I'm going to say. Oh, and you guys, I don't know how many of you have been through this with me before. We don't say amen at the end of these because they're revealed. Okay. O Lord my God, assist thy loved ones to be firm in thy faith, to walk in thy ways, to be steadfast in thy cause. Give them thy grace to withstand the onslaught of self and passion, to follow the light of divine guidance. Thou art the powerful, the gracious, the self-subsisting, the bestower, the compassionate, the almighty, the all-bountiful.
Teresa, why don't you say amen? You can sit down.
We don't say amen because these are revealed prayers by a manifestation of God. It's like the Lord's Prayer. And so if it's been sent down from heaven, there's no need to ask that it may be so.
Okay.
If we say it from our hearts as a wish, then we can say, may it be so. And that's what amen is for.
Thank you. Well, I guess you shouldn't have sat down. We got to do the pledge. Mr. Carter.
Absolutely. Please recite with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Now you can sit down. We're moving the presentation to later in the program. City Manager, anything to be removed?
No, sir.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Anything to pull on the consent calendar? I got to pull CC2. I have a conflict.
CC2 and CC4.
I have a refund check on the check register. What's that all about?
You rented a city facility, gave the security deposit, you left it clean, so you get your money back.
We cleaned up after ourselves. Wow, good.
So just two?
What other one, CC4?
CC2 and CC4.
All right, is there a motion to approve the calendar with...
Motion to approve the consent calendar is currently comprised pulling CC2 and CC4.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Yes, of course. Okay, CC4. Mr. Reeves.
Mayor Paris, council, staff, ladies and gentlemen. I'm speaking tonight on CC4. It's the rezoning of the property for the solar plant. And again, I have some concerns about it. Number one is the glare that the environmental report said that would emit from the plant, and also the air quality during the construction, and it would also expose the public to additional noise level during operation. Another thing about this project is that it continues to list the project as 960 plus or minus acres. And I'm not an attorney, but I thought that you need to be more specific with land use. You need to be exact on it. I know personally, I have some property and a lady thought she owned it, and I had to get the county assessor to speak with her and show her a property map. And the woman said, well, I paid for the property. And the county tax assessor told her, well, you may have paid for it, but it's not yours. And that's my concern when I look at something like this where it's not clear specifically how many acres we're talking about. I wonder if we'll get in a situation like that where someone might claim the land is theirs, etc. I wish the people that run this project could do a sample panel or something and show us the magnitude of the glare that will be emitted from this project so that we don't have a group of homeowners in the future come and sue the city and sue the developer because of the glare. Thank you.
That sun must be really loud. There's a noise problem with the, never mind. Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve CC4.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. I'm going to recuse myself and turn it over to the Vice Mayor.
I need a motion and a second for CC2.
I'll make a motion to accept CC2. I'll second.
Let's vote. Motion carries 3 with Mayor Paris abstaining. Can we get?
I'm going to take new business item 1 out of order. And that's the Vista volunteers.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Kelly Cunningham, and I'm currently the VISTA coordinator for the city this year, overseeing both the Mayor's Health and Wellness Program and the One Link Volunteer Program. As you know, the city recently agreed to extend our partnership with the AmeriCorps Vista program earlier this summer, which is a federal national service program aimed at eliminating poverty in the United States. This partnership has helped to create 2 very unique and powerful programs here in the Antelope Valley. The first, One Link, which focuses on promoting civic engagement to the community at large and is being run this year by Vista's Rochelle Garcia and Alicia Austin. And then the Mayor's Health and Wellness Council program, developed through the Lancaster Neighborhood Vitalization Commission and focuses on healthy futures for Lancaster residents. This will be run this year by Vista's Katie Lorenzini, Jessica Perales, and Jickie Thankachin. These 5 individuals have already made great strides with both of these programs since their arrival in August of this year. And tonight, you will learn a little more about who they are, why they have chosen to serve here in the city of Lancaster, and what they have been up to since their VISTA term started. So thank you for your time and your support, and I will now introduce Katie Lorenzini, who will start off the VISTA introductions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor Paris and council members. My name is Katie Lorenzini, and I am one of the new AmeriCorps Vistas working on the Mayor's Health and Wellness Council. I was born and raised in Escondido, California, a city in North County, San Diego. My college experience was a little unique because I attended 3 schools. I first attended Cal State University, San Marcos, but transferred to a 2-year college that allowed me to explore other career paths and other courses. I ultimately ended up transferring to St. Louis University, where I recently graduated with the Bachelor of Science in Public Health. My main areas of interest now are environmental health, global health, and food insecurities, and I hope to pursue a graduate degree in environmental health in the future. I joined the Mayor's Health and Wellness Council because of my passion for public health and community engagement. A huge influence in my life and the reason I discovered public health were the service trips to Cameroon I was lucky enough to go on the past few years. There I worked on a variety of projects in a community hospital and was able to build really valuable relationships with community members. As a public health enthusiast, the Mayor's Health and Wellness Council really spoke to me. Health is a huge determinant in living a meaningful and fulfilled life, and I believe that everyone should have both the opportunity and access to live a healthy life. I'm very excited about the year ahead because the Mayor's Health and Wellness Council gives us the opportunity to directly address disparities and hopefully encourage change in the community. And lastly, a little fact about me. I love dogs. Those are not all my dogs. I'm currently dogless. But if anyone has any dogs that they need walked or played with or just anything, let me know. I'll take cats too. And now Jessica Prowlis will introduce herself.
So, good evening, Mayor Perez and council members. My name is Jessica Perales, and I'm from Vista, California, which is also a city in North County, San Diego. We actually didn't know each other before this. And I actually decided to move to the Northeast for college. I went to Brown University in Rhode Island, and I received my bachelor's degree in biology. It was through my coursework and through my involvement at the Rhode Island Free Clinic that I discovered my passion for the social aspects of health and not just the biological ones that I learned in the classroom. Because of this, I wanted to dedicate a year to AmeriCorps Vista, specifically to work with the Mayor's Health and Wellness Council to make a positive impact within the Lancaster community. I wholeheartedly believe that health is a human right, and I hope to discover how my personal strengths can help make that a more attainable reality, even if in a minimal way. After this year, I intend to pursue a master's in public health and business administration. And a fun fact about myself is that I went to school with Emma Watson, who is from Harry Potter, and I'm a huge Harry Potter nerd, so that was really awesome. And I actually went to her commencement. So now, Jikki Thankchan.
Good evening, Mayor Paris and City Council members. My name is Jikki Thankchan, and I recently relocated to Lancaster from Coral Springs, Florida, which is a city in Broward County, Florida, just north of both Fort Lauderdale and Miami. This past May, I graduated from the University of Florida, go Gators, with bachelor's degrees in both biological psychology and sociology, as well as a minor in health disparities. I chose to serve on the Mayor's Health and Wellness Council because through my experience working with individuals who live in the margins of society, I have come to realize that access to competent healthcare is not realized by far too many people. I strive to create a community where an individual's position on the social ladder will not determine their health outcomes. Although this seems like a daunting task, I am proud to be part of an organization which aims to impact this caliber of change in Lancaster one generation at a time. After completing my Vista year, I aspire to attend graduate school and get my Master's of Public Health with concentrations in both global health and health policy. An interesting fact about me is that I like to read and collect quotes, and my favorite quote right now is by Sir Isaac Newton, and it reads, "If I have seen further than others, it is by standing upon the shoulders of giants." Now that we've properly introduced ourselves, Jess, Katie, and I would like to update you on the progress of the Mayor's Health and Wellness Academy over the past month. But before we begin our update, I'd like to thank the Lancaster Neighborhood Revitalization Commission for their collaboration with us on the Academy. So first and foremost, the ABC for Fitness program. We have successfully trained 13 teachers at 3 elementary schools, which are Joshua, Sierra, and Sunnydale. We are currently coordinating monthly big bursts at the schools, and big bursts are when all the kindergarten classrooms will join together assembly style in the cafeteria or the auditorium at the school, and they'll perform the physical activity together in a large group. And we're also setting up BMI testing at this month's big burst. So with the BMI, the data will be collected at the beginning of the year as well as the end of the year to compare changes in the children's health, and this data will primarily be used for future grant applications and to measure program success. and to share with parents and school officials the progress of their children. And we are also collecting feedback from teachers, and so far they've been stellar. They've been really positive. The teachers have really been enjoying incorporating the physical activity into their classrooms because not only is it healthy for their children, but it gets the children to calm down and get ready to learn again. It gets rid of the restless feeling in children. Now Jess will talk to you about food and fun after school.
All right. So the second component of the Mayor's Health Academy is a food and fun after-school activity that is targeted for K through 5 and will take place at Joshua and Low Tree Wellness Homes with the students from Sunnydale, Sierra, and Joshua Elementary. So right now we've been working on finalizing the activity logistics, so estimating the beginning time, which right now we're seeing as mid-October, as well as solidifying the curriculum to ensure that's actually a sustainable activity that will last a year long, and that it really focuses on proper nutrition and active living. We've also started to gauge interest on the program at back to school nights, and so far it's been really positive. We've signed up about 60 parents for information sheets, so we have all of their contact info and they definitely seem interested. And along with food and fun after school activity, we've also planned to incorporate a supplement, which is the monthly community events that are aimed at engaging the entire family as a whole, so that it's not just the children that are receiving all this information, but also the parents who will ultimately make a lot of the change in the homes as well. So now Katie will talk about our next steps.
All right, we are currently working on some really exciting new aspects that we are going to build upon and expand for the Mayor's Health and Wellness Council. So firstly, we are working to find Health Academy aides that will assist teachers in implementing the bursts in the classrooms. So that picture is actually from a service fair at AVC. So we're targeting college students, and it's just going to be a really good experience for them to get that in-class experience, and we're really excited to provide this opportunity to the college students. Next, we are working on providing community screenings at the wellness homes. So these screenings will likely include cholesterol, glucose, blood pressure, and body mass index screenings. But we're just in the preliminary phases, so we're looking for potential sponsors that will aid us in providing these screenings. And these will be taking place in the wellness homes. And then we are working on implementing a community garden at the wellness homes as well. This will be a supplemental aspect of food and fun after school. And it will just be a really valuable tool for the kids to learn about nutrition and where their food comes from and the importance of fresh foods. And the gardens will be in the 2 wellness homes, so they'll be in Low Tree and Joshua wellness homes. And then lastly, we're continuously updating the website to make it more accessible and user-friendly. So we're currently working on translating the entire website to Spanish so more of the community will have access to it. We want the entire community to know about all the valuable resources Lancaster offers, and we feel that our website can be a huge aid in that. All right, so thank you for your time this evening, and now I will introduce Rochelle Garcia from OneLink.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm Rochelle Garcia. I was born and raised in California, and I currently live in a beautiful town called North Edwards. The most interesting thing about my town is that picture. Right there. We have no signal lights. We have one street light. We have one restaurant called The Restaurant and one store called The Store. It's a beautiful place to live. I encourage you to stop by. I got my AA in photography at Antelope Valley College. That's a picture of my daughter that I took of her. I am currently working on my bachelor's with criminal justice. The reason why I got my photography degree is because I wanted to go in forensic photography, but there's not too much money in that. So I kind of moved my path, and I'm working to work with at-risk youth or at-potential youth. This is my second year with AmeriCorps. I really love giving back to my community and working with people. My first year I was a volunteer coordinator. My second year I'm a volunteer coordinator. So it's really nice to kind of let people see that I volunteer. And so I'm kind of modeling the behavior for people to want to volunteer in their community. And fun fact about me is that I'm a certified massage therapist. And next I'll be asking Alicia Austin to come up.
Good evening, Mayor Paris and council members. My name is Alicia Austin, and I come to Lancaster from Richmond, Virginia. It's a long way from here. It's a southeastern state, and it's probably about 2 hours from D.C. to give you a little bit of location. So in Richmond, Virginia, it's a very historic place as well, so you'll find things like the Jamestown settlement or Colonial Williamsburg, and also the picture up there, which is of Monticello, which was Thomas Jefferson's plantation. It's also on the back of a nickel. So I went to school at Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia. It's about an hour from my hometown, so I traveled far enough to get away from parents, but close enough to get there if I needed them. I majored in communications with an emphasis in public relations simply because I love to talk. And I was also very active while I was in school, had a lot of monarch spirit. As you can kind of see from the picture below, I'm the one in the back. I'm like 2 feet off the ground in the marching band while everyone else is, marching on the ground. So had a lot of fun in school. I decided to dedicate a year of service with AmeriCorps Vista because I truly believe that to volunteer is our greatest privilege. I feel like too often there's this stigma associated with volunteerism where it's used as a tool for punishment or individuals just complete volunteer assignments to fulfill some type of requirement. So our goal is to kind of change that stigma and make people want to volunteer because it's a great way to give back to the community but also to grow as an individual. So how do we plan to do this? We're going to effectively communicate the purpose and mission of OneLink and to the community and specifically to potential volunteers and donors by making effective use of a variety of approaches. So I'm really glad that I get to come here and kind of use what I learned in school to promote the OneLink program. Fun fact about me, I love to travel. That's why I'm all the way here from Virginia. And one of my favorite quotes is, "Travel is the only thing you buy that makes you richer." These are some pictures of me and my favorite locations I've traveled to. And by far the best place I've been is Vegas, of course.
Have you ever been to North Edwards?
Not yet, but Rochelle has told me about North Edwards, and I plan to go to the restaurant. Now that you know a little bit about the AmeriCorps Vistas, we're going to tell you a little bit more about what we've been up to at OneLink.
Well, on your way to Vegas, you could stop by. It's definitely in the route. Okay, so with OneLink, one big thing we're focusing on this year is a lot of outreach to both organizations and to the community. Due to the previous Vistas doing, I believe, an excellent job with the website and making it sustainable for people to use and organizations to use, that we're focusing on outreach. These are the few events that we've been to. Because OneLink is AV-wide, we spread out to different cities within the AV, and we stay within the AV realm. We've gone to Highland High School. We've gone to Charter College, West Coast Baptist College. We did a job fair there. The longest job fair of my life. My jaw never hurt so much talking to so many people, but it was a great experience. Gain and Grow, the Hero Club, and Antelope Valley College. With our school outreach, that seems to be our biggest target right now. So far, we've had over 150 students sign up and utilize OneLink, so that is great. We've been here 7 weeks. So I think that's really great for us. We also have surveyed the children, so we see that their progress throughout their school year, just to see how many hours they did before OneLink was introduced to them, and then how many hours they've done after OneLink was introduced to them. We partner with AV's Hero Club and Project Lead. So what that is pretty much is, sorry, I lost my place. Okay, so with the Hero Club, so OneLink's big idea, the Hero Club is a program within the schools so that kids can do community service on an ongoing basis. So it's not just sporadic once every 3 months. We kind of want it to be ongoing with them. So OneLink will partner with the Hero Clubs from different schools. They're trying to get this program in different high schools in the Antelope Valley. So we're going to kind of help them see what projects are out there each week and promote them to go to those projects. The Student Volunteer Recognition Program, we're developing the program right now. What that's going to do is within the school, we're going to have a certain amount of hours that a student has to reach in order to get some type of incentive. It may be just a little incentive, a gift card or something like that, just to show children that we see that we're recognizing what they're doing in their community. And lastly, we want to develop and strengthen our OneLink board. I'm currently talking to Vitus Healthcare GCOM services, and then also a teacher from a high school, Miss Agnew. She showed interest in that as well.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about social media. As you can see from this chart, our social media engagement has definitely increased. As she said before, we've only been here 7 weeks, but we've had substantial growth on all 3 of our main social media channels. How we did that, you may ask. Well, we started by developing a social media plan where we really got together and decided what we wanted to post, who our target audience was, how often we're going to post, things like that. We went on to develop a content calendar similar to the social media plan, but focusing more on the content, what we're going to post on different days of the week. We, with the content, we went to optimize it, make sure that it was optimized for search, going into search engine optimization. And what that does is drive traffic to our website and our social media channels, which definitely increases our engagement. We also utilize hashtags strategically. We researched different hashtags. We didn't just make them up. There are actually hashtags for every day of the week, and we used those. We implemented those into our posts. And of course, we incorporated images. Of course, if you have a post with an image, you're more likely to get more engagement on it. From there, we did social media analytics. So we measured where the social media was when we came, and then we measure the analytics after each month. And things we measure are, for example, likes, followers, comments, shares, just any type of engagement on our social media pages. We've also worked on the One Link website. As Rochelle stated, the vistas from last year really focused on it and gave us a great foundation to start with. So once we got here, we did a website audit just to make sure that everything was correct. You know, there were no errors and that the website was easy to use and navigate. We touched on these components. Visual design, once again, we want to make sure it was appealing to our audience because people will come back to things that they like to look at. Content, optimize the content for search. Keywords, very important. It drove traffic to our website. Navigation, we wanted to make sure it was user-friendly, it was easy to navigate. You probably can only get someone's attention for about 5 minutes. If they can't figure it out, they're not going to come back. Call to action, we made sure to include that in our website just so individuals know exactly what to do after they register, so they're not confused. We also included our contact information so they know how to get in touch with us. Credibility, we wanted to make sure we established credibility. We wanted people to know, yes, we are real. We are working with the city of Lancaster. It's not a scam. A lot of people were a little skeptical because we've only been a program for 3 years. And, of course, the mobile site. As you all know, we like to view things from our cell phones and our tablets more than our computer, so we made sure that the website looked the same across all different channels. A measurement software, this was a really important aspect of the website. We definitely wanted to make sure that we had tools to measure how people are utilizing the website. So we do have software implemented with the website that measures how many visitors we get to the website, who signs up for the website, how many organizations sign up, and also how many individuals are utilizing the website, not just, okay, they registered and they didn't do anything else. We want to make sure that, you know, they're connecting with these organizations and vice versa. Okay, thank you for your time, Mayor Paris and council members. This concludes our VISTA presentation.
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you. Who's working with them?
Melissa Varela and Kelly Cunningham. Kelly was a Vista from last year, and now she's on the payroll. So.
Okay.
They've done a really good job, and we'd all be remiss in not thanking Kelvin Tainatongo, who founded the program and had a lot to do with interviewing and hiring these folks and setting the right tone.
And before you leave, I mean, Lancaster, could you teach me what a hashtag is? Thank you. Okay. Any questions, by the way? Okay, good. Thank you.
From LA County, sir.
LA County's here. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. My name is Craig David, and I'm the area engineer for our LA County Waterworks districts. Basically, I serve as the operation manager for operations and maintenance activities, among other things up here in the Antelope Valley. And back in June, we came by and gave a water a presentation to you, a water conservation presentation. And we thought we'd come back around and tell you how things are going. I think you're going to be pleased with most of the efforts. So with me, I've got David Reidman, who serves as our water resource manager, and he'll get up here and tell you how we're doing in the valley.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Craig gave a quick presentation. Yes, we are doing pretty good in District 40. Of the 5 districts that the Los Angeles County Waterworks districts or Public Works staff operates, District 40 is the one that's met the state requirement all 3 months, June, July, and August. In June, we saw a reduction in usage compared to 2013 of 42%. In July, usage was down by 40%. And in August, we were still above the target of 32%, but we're only down by 35%. I'm sure that most of the cities and communities across Southern California would be very happy with those numbers. So first, just extending a word of congratulations to the residents here and businesses in Lancaster that have met the state requirements. There's been a couple things that we've done to kind of highlight that I just want to go over and give you a quick update. We have processed about 420 applications from customers who have asked for an adjustment to their allocation. Those are reviewed. We talked about it last time of customers who have more than 4 people in their home or some business practice that requires more water. So we've successfully worked with customers to adjust when it's appropriate. We have received to date in 2015 almost 1,000 Cash for Grass applications. Since the birth of the program, we have awarded $2 million worth of rebates for Cash for Grass. That's 2 million square feet of grass that will be removed in the Antelope Valley by customers who are taking the message of conservation seriously. The majority of that has occurred since May of 2015, so customers have responded in force.
Do we know how much of that was in Lancaster?
I would be guessing. I can get you that for sure. Yeah. Let me get that for you. We've provided or have requests for 38 audits, or call them audits, but they're water use surveys where we'll send an expert out to evaluate water use with the customers and help them figure out ways to conserve. And our staff in Lancaster is handling about 2,000 calls a month specific to conservation. Our headquarters staff is around 200 calls a month. So the majority of the calls are handled here locally, but we do have expertise down in Alhambra that's answering calls. But again, the big news is we're meeting the state board regulations. Nothing to be worried about in terms of water use. We'll see how everything goes through the course of the winter. It gets a little bit tougher to reduce in these desert climates because a lot of people already turn off their water during the winter time, but they've got a good start on the level of conservation needed through the summer. I can handle any questions that you have. Otherwise, that's the only report we have.
Last time you were here, we asked you the question, what you're going to do with the extra money that you receive for the cost overruns where the production is over?
Certainly, that is funding all conservation programs. So that goes for funding the Cash for Grass programs. That goes for funding the administration of the Phase Water Conservation Plan, all the staff time that's spent on reviewing appeals. I'll give you this, though. In District 40, the level of revenue that's been collected from surcharges is significantly less than the other districts, again, because customers are conserving. They're meeting their targets.
Do you have that number?
I believe... I think that the number that I was provided was for our District 29, so I don't want to give that to you. But again, I can get that to you for how much surcharges have been collected.
What specifically are they doing to reduce it?
What are customers doing?
Yeah, what's working? I mean, do you know what specifically they're doing?
There's a lot of brown grass in the Antelope Valley. Customers have taken the message of putting your lawn on the drought diet, drop your water weight, and they are turning off the sprinklers outside.
How do you know that?
Driving around town and looking at customer usage. Really, that level of conservation can't be achieved indoors. It's got to be done outdoors. The 32% goal is a pretty lofty goal for the Antelope Valley. That's only done outdoors.
Okay. Thank you. We talked to you last time about you investigating the merging of the sanitation district with the water district. Was there any benefit
I'm not really
to that?
familiar with any progress or anything that's being done on that specifically, and we discussed it really that the updates for tonight is just on conservation.
So the answer to that is nothing.
Not that I am aware of at this time, correct?
So is there a reason that's being ignored?
No, there's no particular reason for it. It's just that you got, it would take a large push, I suppose, to make something like that happen. At our level, we're probably not, probably take someone at your level to get something like that to start happening.
No, what we asked for was an analysis of whether or not it's something that should be pursued. And that is something you do.
Okay. Well, we can take a look at it. I don't have anything to tell you at this point.
So when will you be able to tell us something? I mean, understand our view of this. Our view of this is that our citizens pour millions of dollars into the county water, into District 40. And we view ourselves as the customer, that we have a right to ask for certain things and certain analysis, and you are not doing a favor for us. We are not accepting your largesse. You work for us. And if you don't want to work for us, you need to tell us that, and then we can proceed down some other avenue, whatever that might be. But right now, we're under the assumption that you work for us.
Sure.
So I want a date of when we will have an analysis of whether or not this is something that should be pursued and whether or not it's cost effective. I don't care if it's a year from now, but I want a commitment as to when you're going to do that.
I don't know if I can give that to you tonight. We're not prepared to talk about that issue tonight.
Okay.
But
I raised it how many months ago?
3.5. Yeah.
3 months ago. So when will you be prepared to talk about it? Just to talk about it. What we're not willing to do, and what the county should have figured out by now with us, is we're not willing to assign things to a round file called a committee or something where it doesn't get acted on. I'm not so concerned how you act on it, but I am concerned that you act. So when can you come back and tell me that there's a plan in place to look into this?
Okay. I'll have to get back to you on that. We will.
When will you get back to me?
Next week. I mean, as far as you're asking for something that's huge. I'm sure I'm not prepared to handle that question tonight with what you're asking. I understand that you want it to be done. I'm not sure.
I'm just asking for when you're going to get back to me with an answer, that you will do it or you won't do it.
What's reasonable to you?
30 days?
Okay.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, I don't know what you want, some sort of a report or some sort of a...
I want you to tell me whether or not there's a plan in place to look at it, as to whether or not this would be cost effective, whether or not it would improve the service to everyone, whether or not it would increase the lifespan of the facilities that we use and the pipes we use and the thing of that nature.
That would be a complex study to be able to figure that out.
Of course it would be a complex study, but we're talking about purple pipe water that is extremely valuable. I mean, and we got them mixed. I mean, we got the water district here and we got the sanitation district here, both providing water. That seems stupid to me that we're not at least looking at the idea of merging the two together and consolidating costs and everything that comes with that. And all I'm asking you is, I want to know, when you can tell me that you will or will not develop a plan to look at that. 30 days from now. Does that work?
Well, I don't know if I'm authorized to make that commitment, but
okay, 30 days from now, would you tell the supervisor, I would like the person who is authorized to be standing where you are? Could you do that for us?
Okay. All right. We'll ask.
Thank you. Okay. But thank you for the report. I'm happy that we've been able to reduce it that much. That to me is amazing.
One thing I did want to say is that for one of the months, June, I believe, we were mentioned in the California Department of Water Resources report as one of the outstanding, remarkable performances as far as reduction of water
Great.
in California. So,
I mean, that really is something to be proud about. This is the biggest threat facing the state in a long time, and it looks like we're leading the pack.
Mayor, one last question. So obviously did well with our performance for the 3 months of the summer, and clearly we go into the winter months where we're challenged because it was easy, well, not overly easy, but if you shut your water off to the outside, and that's the biggest use, and now we're rolling against the winter months where you don't have the outside water. Does a homeowner then get credit if, case in point, let's say they were at 42% for 2 or 3 periods during the summer, 2 periods during the summer, and then we roll into the winter months where it's more challenging. Do they get credit for that? Do we amortize that over the year, or is it we're super conservative during the summertime and we make it and we're 10% better than what we were required, but now in the wintertime we get into those tight months where, gosh, I wouldn't want to be telling, an older lady to say, hey, look, you got to stop washing or you got to stop doing laundry.
So the big key here is that we're using the district-wide average to set the allocation. So if you have the homeowner that doesn't have landscaping, that isn't irrigating during these winter months anyways, they're going to have an easier time meeting the target because, again, it's based on the district-wide average.
Okay.
Again, you've got people who are going to turn off their sprinklers, and the allocation adjusts throughout the course of the year based on what the historic usage is. If there's a customer that's having trouble in the wintertime, again, that's another adjustment that we could consider if there is a reason for not doing so, but there is sufficient amount allocated each month to meet the basic needs indoors.
Okay, so you feel pretty optimistic we won't have that catch-22 where we get into the winter months and it becomes challenging and then lo and behold we're paying a surcharge.
Correct. Again, though, if there is an issue, the request for an adjustment is available for the whole year, not just for the summer.
Okay.
So if there are extenuating circumstances, we'll evaluate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, now I'm totally confused. Where are we?
We're back at
Public hearing?
PH1.
PH1? Okay. We got any speaker cards?
Yes.
Okay, who's presenting on that? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members.
Do you want to open the public hearing?
It's opened.
The resolution before you this evening establishes the fees to begin offering passport services to the citizens in the Antelope Valley. Currently, this service is not being offered to our residents, and they're having to drive to Santa Clarita or to Tehachapi to apply for their passport. The $25 execution fee is established by the United States Department of State and is a required fee which is payable to the City of Lancaster. The $10 photo fee is an optional fee and is also payable to the City of Lancaster. The photo fee has been set to be comparable to the other stores who are currently offering this service. All other required passport fees are payable to the Department of State and are submitted with the applicant's documentation. This service will provide a source of revenue for the city in addition to providing a valuable service to our residents. The City Clerk Department will be providing this service at City Hall Monday through Thursday by appointment only. And as need for this service grows, it is anticipated a part-time staff person will be hired to ensure that we continue to provide outstanding customer service, and the position will be covered by revenues generated from the program. If approved, we plan to begin a citywide marketing campaign through various media outlets, including the Antelope Valley Press, Channel 28, Facebook, and Twitter. And we anticipate offering this service beginning October 6th with your approval. I'd like to thank Linda Broderius, the Deputy City Clerk, for all of her help, and Jason and Mark for their support for the project. And I can answer any questions you may have at this time.
question? Any questions?
You talk about it being open to residents. I'm assuming that it's also open to non-residents?
Yes, it's all residents or citizens in the Antelope Valley who want, they can drive here and get the service now instead of having to drive.
So if you live in Palmdale, you'll be able
Correct. It's open for everyone.
Do you have any projections on what it's going to bring in?
I'm anticipating about $24,000 a year.
That's after labor cost?
No.
So?
I didn't bring those numbers with me.
Okay.
However, they're starting it without adding any labor.
We are starting it with 2 people in our department that we'll be handling on our own.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
Thank you.
Mr. Reeves?
Mayor Paris, council, staff, ladies and gentlemen, I want to commend the city for this new project. And, it's going to have people who have never come to City Hall come to City Hall and come to Lancaster. And I hope that we're prepared for it. And in my mind, I think we might want to reconfigure the city clerk's office. Instead of having the front desk in front, have it on the side and have chairs, because eventually this is going to be a great project and people will want to walk in. They will not want to make an appointment. And we want to be able to accommodate them. And also on the parking on the street, we need to have signs posted on the side of the street to let people know they can park on the side of the street. Walk across the street, go up to the city clerk's office. There's an open space, there's chairs, the camera, it'll all be set up. And while they're doing that, when they come back downstairs, there ought to be some way that we can encourage them to go down the boulevard and look at the boulevard and participate in the city. It's a great way to bring people into the city, and it's a great service. And I'm particularly, personally happy about it because I was prepared to go down to West LA to the passport agency to renew my passport. Now I can do it here. Thank you.
Wow, that's something new.
Mr. Bozigian, I think you're going to need to widen the streets, add a few lanes. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, we close the public hearing.
Any discussion?
No. I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 15-53.
Second.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Public hearing item 2. We'll now open the public hearing. Any speaker cards?
3.
Thank you. City. Who's presenting?
Brian.
Brian.
Thank you, Mayor Paris and members of the City Council. The item before you this evening is a proposed ordinance that would modify certain provisions of the city's current alcohol ordinance. That ordinance, as you may recall, was adopted in 2008. The proposed revisions are the result of the Planning Commission's work over the past few months. What they did was they created a subcommittee to really review what had been the results of this ordinance's implementation in the 7 or so years that it's been in place. That subcommittee took a look at the requirements for on and off-site sales. They took a look at the types of trends and issues that both they as commissioners and we as staff had identified. They looked at the effectiveness of the existing ordinance. After doing that research and that review, they determined that overall they felt the ordinance had really done pretty well for the city. And they thought that that function of it had been very, very effective. But they did identify some specific things that they felt needed some attention. Specifically, the current definitions in the ordinance of convenience store as compared with definitions that are in there for liquor store and mini market. The amount of floor area that is allowed in incidental sales operations for the display and sale of alcoholic beverages, and the types of alcoholic beverages that are allowed to be sold from these different types of establishments. The subcommittee presented this information to the Commission as a whole in June, and based on the discussion that came out of that, Commission directed staff to prepare a draft ordinance for their consideration at the August meeting. The Commission at that time voted to recommend approval to the City Council of the revisions, and I'd like to highlight for you what those changes would be. The first thing that the ordinance would do is revise the current definition of convenience market that is in the ordinance. Originally, the idea of having a definition for convenience market was to make sure that users such as Remy's Market, which you may be familiar with, or Ben's Corner, would not fall under the definition of a mini market because clearly they operate differently than a mini market does. The convenience market definition that is in place right now says that in order to qualify, that market has to have at least 10% of its floor area devoted to fresh meat and produce. This requirement, however, is something that the Commission was concerned about because they had noticed an increasing number of applications for uses that they thought really were more on the mini market side, trying to apply as convenience markets. And the reason for that is a convenience market, by code definition, does not have a requirement for a separation distance. And the reason for that was to encourage legitimate small-scale grocery operations to be able to locate within neighborhoods that were within walking distance, particularly for residents that are elderly or otherwise did not have access to automobile transportation. The Commission's recommendation is to revise the current requirement for 10% of the floor area to 15% of the floor area. At the same time, they are recommending that convenience markets not be permitted to sell spirits, that they would be limited to the sales of beer and wine. It would also, as part of an overall change for incidental sellers in the city, reduce the amount of sales floor area that would be allowed for the sale and display of alcoholic beverages. Right now, incidental sellers in the city are allowed up to 10% of floor area. But staff did some research on what had been the actual amounts that had been requested and ultimately put in place by incidental sellers. And incidental sellers are things like grocery stores, drug stores, the convenience markets that we had noted. Most of those incidental sellers that were approved in the city are only using about 3 to 5% of their floor area. So the recommendation from the Commission is if that is what's happening in legitimate incidental seller situations, that the code ought to be revised to lower the current amount from 10% of floor area to 5% of floor area. So that is also recommended in this ordinance. An additional change would be to add a clear definition of sales floor area. There has been some dispute over the 7 years about how that really needs to be calculated. Do aisles count? Do areas that are storage count? So the definition is now proposed in there that would clarify how the city's actually going to look at that and calculate it. One other change, which doesn't relate specifically to convenience markets and so forth, is designed to also close an ambiguity that exists in the code. When it was adopted back in 2007, there's a requirement that nightclubs with alcohol have to have a conditional use permit. However, there are nightclubs that don't sell alcohol. So there is also a provision to close that ambiguity in there and require that any nightclub, whether it sells alcohol or doesn't, also needs to have a conditional use permit. I would add that in conjunction with the recommendation that's before you from the Planning Commission, they have also been working on revising the standard conditions that are applied to both off-site and on-site sellers of alcohol. And in fact, at their meeting last evening, they adopted revised sets of conditions that would address those same issues in terms of container sizes, packaging, and sales operations that are really done on a case-by-case basis as users come forward. We think from a staff standpoint, and Mr. Vos certainly as the chairman of the Planning Commission can speak to you on the basis of what the commission's thoughts were, we think that these are reasonable changes into the code. We think it addresses issues that have been identified, and we would recommend to you that you introduce the approval of this ordinance. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Great job.
Thank you.
How do you deal with the vertical shelving issue?
That was one of the problems, and the only thing that we're really able to do is look at the horizontal area, because you can have high shelving, low shelving, but particularly in the case of the convenience markets and the other incidental sellers, the reduction from 10% to 5% helps deal with a lot of that problem. And I would also add that in the Commission's adoption of their standard conditions, they also have a standard condition now that they would seek to apply that says you cannot mix display. In other words, you can't have in the same kind of, particularly in the cold boxes, you can't have the non-alcoholic drinks and the alcoholic drinks together. We want them separated out so there isn't this kind of confusion over how much is being used here or there.
So why I'm just curious, why did we take the spirits out of it?
One of the things that we had identified as a concern on convenience markets was that not only did we think people were looking at trying to kind of slide mini markets in under the convenience market heading, but, and specifically this relates to a case which you heard on appeal in April, I think the Commission really wants to see a defining line between what you might consider more of a liquor sales establishment versus just something that's beer and wine for the convenience of consumers. And we did go back and look at whether a liquor store in fact has been approved under the current ordinance in the last 7 years. It hasn't. But we really were starting to get this same sort of feeling that people were looking to kind of slide the liquor sales in as part of these convenience markets, which really comes back to the issue that the Commission felt was the most important to address, because that's the one that impacts neighborhoods the most.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Fran? Sarah Saris.
Good evening, Mayor Parrish.
Good evening.
Vice Mayor Chris, Council, and staff, and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fran Sarah Saris, and on this ordinance, actually, verbatim is not really spelled out what this ordinance covers as far as us as ordinary people. But I also, my question is, which I didn't hear yesterday, I was watching it on TV, the locations of where these mini markets and convenience stores are going to be located. Because the last time when I spoke on this, that was because they were too close together, one small little market, then next door was Kanique's, and so forth and so on. But is there any in this ordinance, does it specify the distance between stores? Or?
Yes, the current ordinance actually contains separation distances, and they're measured from property line to property line. The Commission, in looking at that, didn't feel there was a need to revise those, that they had worked pretty well. There is a provision within the current code that allows an applicant to request a waiver. The Commission has granted a few of those in cases where you have commercial centers where you don't have the same kind of effects on a neighborhood that you would where something locates more in a neighborhood location. But those separation distances are in place. They would remain in place under this ordinance.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred. Michael Reeves.
Thank you. Mayor Paris, council, staff, ladies and gentlemen, I have a copy of the ordinance here, and I spoke to staff before the meeting about this. It was mentioned that maybe the markets, the grocery stores, the incidental off-sale beverage people only use 3% of their space. But if you've ever been into any of these markets, people buy a lot of liquor off of that 3% of the space. I'm glad that they're officially going to reduce it. But, you know, we talked about this before when this gentleman came up and wanted his liquor license or application appealed, and we had people in the neighborhood get up here. Liquor is a blight on this community, and you don't have to take my word for it. Start up at K and 10th Street West and go north to Avenue I, or get on Avenue K and go east and west. You'll see people outside these liquor establishments, these mini marts. It's a very uncomfortable blight on this community. And whatever the city does to handle this, and I appreciate the Planning Commission, thank you. It's a blight on this community. You can't feel comfortable walking on some of the streets in this community. I won't walk down 10th Street West in the evening because of people outside some of these liquor establishments, many liquor stores, mini marts, markets, etc. I've seen fights in the parking lots. That's not an environment for the community. I'm glad this city is being proactive, and in the future I hope we will restrict some of these applications for sale of liquor in this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jason Zink.
I oppose this. First of all, I think the report that the city gave for the public is not a good report. Basically, nobody knows what's in this ordinance unless they have a computer and can pop it up. We should have had a report that shows how many feet setback, the ounces and the beverages and stuff like that. This was just like the fee schedule at the last meeting. If nobody knows, we can't talk about it. So basically, why even let the public even know about it? That's the first thing. The second thing is, I think this is just a feel-good measure. I don't think it does anything to reduce alcohol sales or anything like that. I think it just feels good for the politicians, and it feels good for the people that don't drink. Supermarkets, how about when they have the Super Bowl at all the Albertsons and Vons and stuff, they have these big alcohol displays and everything like that. What are you going to do to prevent these corporations? All this does is hurt small businesses. This does not hurt the corporations at all. This just hurts the mom and pop stores in our community who depend on alcohol. If you take a course of business at 101 at AV College, they say you need alcohol in order to be successful. You go to Reno, there's a 7-Eleven on every corner. It's the most convenient city I've ever been to. And they sell hard alcohol. And also, you have a church and you have a school on both sides of it. And they have less crime than Antelope Valley. What we have to do is educate the people in high school. We have to have a required course in high school to teach these kids about alcohol and the effects, what it costs them, their jobs, money, time. That's where we need to do education. If we want to worry about blight, then let's get these real estate signs out in front of these plazas. That's blight. That looks terrible in both cities. And single can sales, they did single can sales. So what did the beer industry do? They did a tall can. So what are they going to do now? Palmdale did it 20, I think they did 40 ounces. So now we're going to have 64-ounce beers, I guess, in Antelope Valley. So it's nonsense. Education is where we need to focus on, not these crazy things that are just feel-good measures that make us feel like we're drinking.
Thank you, Jason. We'll take the 7-Eleven on every corner under advisement.
Mayor, unless there's no discussion, I'll move that we introduce ordinance number 1007.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It would be appropriate to close the public hearing before you vote.
Yeah.
Public hearing is closed. Let's vote. It's unanimous. So, we get to the good part of the agenda, and that's the nomination and appointment of Lisa Rodriguez and Jin Her to the Criminal Justice Commission. Are they here?
Yes, both.
Why don't we do it individually? Well, we got to vote first. Yeah. Let's vote on it, then we'll swear you in, okay?
You're making the motion?
Well, I'm nominating both of them, but I don't make the motion.
All right. Well, I'll make the motion then. So I'll move that we appoint Lisa Rodriguez and Jen Hure to the Criminal Justice Commission.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. Your political careers have commenced. So why don't we do it up here? Why don't you come up individually? We'll start with Lisa, and we'll swear you in, okay? I think this gives us a better picture. Or does it? You don't want a photo bomb this shot? I'm going to turn on this microphone. Okay, great. Okay, raise your hand. I, Lisa Rodriguez, do solemnly swear or affirm. You can't hear me? Swear, right? That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and consent the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution State of California
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will obey
true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Oh, Britt, you're going to sign it, right? Okay. Why don't you come here and just sign it? We'll date it for you.
Today's date, this.
Congratulations. Jin Her here?
Jin Her?
Yes, here he comes.
You may regret this day. I, Jin Her, do solemnly swear. I, Jin Her, solemnly swear.
Solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend
That I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion, and that I will faithfully discharge I will and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. which you're about to enter. Thank you,
Okay. Okay, council reports. Marvin Christ.
How about if I defer the AVTA, the buses to you, Mayor, in regards to the speech that you gave to the Vice President?
Well, I actually didn't give the speech to the Vice President. He came after my speech, which was really disappointing because I just assumed that he was coming out to hear me. But we attended the Los Angeles Chinese Climate Change Symposium that was held in LA. The Vice President did show up, gave a great speech, and while we were there, after the speech, they were actually, like the mayor of the Dade, Miami County was there, went and was setting up meetings to place orders for the buses. So we sold buses. Good. Now, what we really need to do, Mark, is figure out a way for the city to get a commission on the buses we sell.
That's a great idea. You might want to mention, too, the cities, Atlanta, Houston.
Yeah, it was really, it was fabulous that we were there because the only other mayors there were from major cities. It was Miami, Houston, New York, Atlanta, although the mayor of New York wasn't there, but he did send somebody. We were the only mid-sized city, and we should thank Eric Garcetti for that. He is extremely attentive to our needs, even though it really shouldn't affect him at all. But he constantly includes us, and that is something new that's never occurred before. And we are reaping the benefits of that. So if Mayor Garcetti ever runs for governor, he's our guy. Now, he'll have to change his registration to Republican, but... So, is that what you wanted?
That's what I wanted. And then the AVA QMD, we did the AIR Awards, which was given to deluxe checks. City of Lancaster has received the last 3 AIR Awards. It's for the cleaning up the air. Deluxe checks did a 50% reduction in emissions, so they were very good. The AVTA received it last year, and we're looking to do at the AVTA, we're looking to rebuild our old diesel buses, refurbish them, and to make them electric. So we're looking at grants to do that with.
That is so cool.
It is good.
Now, if we could just get the Antelope Valley Union High School District bus system to get on board with this. So everybody write the board, tell them to buy electric buses instead of diesel buses.
Good idea. One more thing I'd like to bring up is the mosquito abatement district.
Yes.
It's come to my attention that they're not really taking the city of Lancaster seriously. What they're doing over there. We were unfortunate enough to have a couple people pass away, and we take it very seriously, at least the city of Lancaster takes it very seriously, that the West Nile disease is in fact a serious disease, and we want it looked into, and we want to make sure that the mosquito abatement district takes us seriously.
What are the traps showing?
By reports, there's been, I think, 11 reports, primarily West Palmdale, Quartz Hill, 2 in Lancaster at last report, maybe 3 in Lancaster.
So maybe we ought to get an update and a report about what action they're taking. I sure would like to know.
We can have the executive director be at your next meeting.
Yeah, tell them I don't want anybody else dying from West Nile and Lancaster. All right?
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else? Anyone else? City Manager, any announcements?
Yes, just a couple. A couple meetings ago, Council approved a construction of the roundabout at Avenue L and Challenger Way. Construction will be starting on that soon. We will be instituting a hard closure, meaning that it will be close to traffic. There'll be appropriate detours. That saves money and time on the project to get it up sooner. And there'll be information out on that. We have 2 events coming up, the Streets of Lancaster this weekend, and one of the good ones on the calendar, Bark at the Park, next weekend, first weekend October. And we have a short video, finally, to share on Celebrate America.
I think of my grandfather, who was one of the first African-American Marines to arrive on the shores of Iwo Jima, and I'm thinking of all of you that have served this great country of ours.
Celebrate America is our first event of the 100 Days of Fun, and it's a great time to just come out, show your patriotism, enjoy family and friends. Great event. Staff does amazing setting it up.
Everything 100% Americana. You've got cars, you've got flags, you've got patriotic stuff, you got everything. Everything's Americana. Come down and support it. It's a great event.
This is the 6th annual Celebrate America on the Boulevard. We're calling this one a Star Spangled Tribute, and this is the kickoff event every fall. It's just great, and we'd like to say thank you to our heroes, past, present, and future.
You know, the first thing I think about are the men and the women that go abroad to make sure that we're all safe, and actually the fact, too, that we go out abroad to make sure that other countries are safe. I think about the people that are left at home and make sure that everything else here keeps going.
I appreciate everybody coming out and celebrating America. This is a time for us to be thankful for those who've given their lives in duty to protect the United States, and then moving forward, the ones that currently serve. And we know how tough it is out there. So, again, I'm so thankful of today.
Let's give it up for America. Today, we get to say thank you to our vets and their families.
Well, it's just really lively, and it's nice to see so many families and everybody just get together. And I just like upbeat nightlife, so that's what this is.
I love this downtown. I love the people and the environment. Everyone is just so friendly, and so it's been a really great time just talking to people and mingling. So it's been great.
It's amazing. It is just astounding how many people come out and they're so happy and positive and excited about America. So it's such a great time.
We've got great production quality.
Yes, Luke is the genius.
And if the city manager would buy them a light to put on the camera, it would be even better.
As I was saying, Luke Duncan was the producer and director of that, and he had significant edits by Joe and I about 2.5 hours ago, and he took them very well.
Thank you. Captain Nelson, while I was at the event on the climate change, I saw LAPD's Tesla patrol car, and I realized that we don't have a Tesla patrol car. So maybe somebody's going to fix that. I mean, we are the research and development city for the sheriff's department. Where's our Tesla?
That's a good question, sir. We do have electric cars, but not quite the Tesla level.
No, not quite. Thank you. Okay, City Clerk.
This is the time to address the City Council, agency, and authority on non-agendized matters. Speaker cards can be found on the back table of the council chambers. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. State law prohibits the City Council from taking action on items not on the agenda, and your matter may be referred to the City Manager. Thank you.
David Paul. Did you pick up your computer?
Yes, sir.
It's waiting for you. Okay.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, good evening. What happened today was I got up and I opened the newspaper and I saw the thing about the Joint Rail Authority or whatever, the bullet train in Palmdale, and I went to that. And there's a lot of information in there, but the thing I came away with is the city needs to form a public finance authority to be part of this endeavor. And there's a lot of stuff in there that is environmental easings and stuff. And I was just thinking that if we run any of the school buses on the new corridor that's going to be built, maybe some of that money could be put into retrofitting those buses. It was a pretty good time. It's very confusing stuff, but they talked about 5 years ago when they started, and now they're here to where they can tell us in a year what might happen. So that's what I took away from there. But the Public Finance Authority, that's the one thing that I did want to mention. And there was one other thing, Mayor, I'm just wondering, because I know you could correct this very easily. I was watching the replays, and it seems like the public comments are no longer being shot from the front. And it's very hard to get your message across when you're just seeing somebody's backside. So I would appreciate it if we could fix that. It's important to have face.
Well, David, the purpose of the public comment is to make your public comment to us, the council. Right. It's really not meant to be an audition for people to be on television. And, certainly as to your comments, I would prefer that they were broadcast to the public. But let's be clear. I mean...
No, I believe me, the reason I understand it is because of what you're talking about. That's clear to me. So I just thought I'd throw it out there and see what happened. But I do understand.
But, I want to be transparent about it. What we found happening is that, every whack job in the city was showing up so they could be on TV. Some of them were even saying hi to their wives and kids, before they started their speech or their presentation. And that's not the purpose. The purpose is to convey information to us so that we can act. But, I want to be clear that it was a conscious decision. Now, I don't know that that I'm stuck to dealing with it on a uniform basis, except now we have high-tech cameras that are voice activated. So, there's nobody back there controlling it. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Jason Zink.
I was at the same meeting, at the rail meeting in Palmdale today, and I got copies for the guy that actually came up with public financing. I'll give it to Mark and the planner here. Nobody can be happy with the two people that came here from the county and gave the report. Anybody can give that report, even a third grader, I think. Think about it. We're giving these guys $200,000 apiece. That's $400,000 that was in the room right now. What'd they tell us? What'd they do for us? Nothing. Wouldn't it be nice if those people lived here in Antelope Valley, went to our churches, their kids went to our schools, they went to our community groups, they donated money to our organizations. Why are we allowing this siphon, this leakage? We're 420,000 people. We can't form a community service district and take over water and sewer and regional planning and regional parks and support and have our own election office. Alhambra, Norwalk, come on, you guys. We're better than this. We really are. So it's either you guys do it or what do we wait for the next generation? But I think you guys are capable of doing this for the next generation.
I think we're waiting for an election.
For election?
Not here.
Oh.
Someplace else.
Well, Sharon Runner's thing about 7 members, that just basically, actually, we have less power if it goes to 7 members. So that wasn't a good idea at all. So if we formed a community service district, we would be better. As far as...
We'll actually have more say-so with that because we'll have local representation.
How?
Because we'll be represented locally. Rather than the district starting in Glendale, it'll start at Santa Clarita. So we'll have a district that incorporates Santa Clarita, Palmdale, and Lancaster rather than Glendale, Burbank, Chatsworth, and the whole San Fernando Valley.
If you add Santa Clarita, that's only 700,000. And that's not even that, 600,000. Each district would be about 1.2 million. So it's still going to include San Fernando Valley or San Gabriel. Yeah. I just know the numbers. Actually, if Antelope Valley became its own county, it'd be ranked 21st out of 58 counties in the state of California in population. That just tells you something, or the power that we really have and that we're not tapping into. And Mayor, you really didn't call the next president of the United States, Donald Trump, compare him to Adolf Hitler, did you?
I certainly did. I think that racist... Never mind. Go on.
Okay, but the other thing is the grass rebate program. If you read on the county waterworks thing, it says they're not taking any more applications until July 2016. I just gave you guys a thing that says the state is giving $30 million in rebates. Why isn't there a link on Palmdale Water District and LA County Water District? These are the jobs that people who aren't educated can go out and get. Why aren't we doing this? You should put up the money and start a grass rebate and start tearing out lawns and get the whole $24 million in grass rebate money, Mayor. Help our community. Use your money to help our community. Thank you.
What chutzpah.
Thank you.
Maybe you can get your buddy Trump to help. Fran.
Mark.
I hate to push the button because I might push it too fast and it go.
There's very few things I'm good at. This is
Oh,
one.
that's it. Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Consul, and ladies and gentlemen. I just have one little thing that came to my mind about waste management. Us seniors were talking about this the other day, about if there could be some kind of receptacle put in the trash for the waste medicines, and instead of just throwing them in the trash. Put them in a container so that when they do go into the fields, they can take the containers out and put them wherever they're supposed to be instead of putting the pills that to throw in the trash. They're going to go into the waste pile.
That makes sense.
I think those containers are at the sheriff's station.
Yeah, but the problem with those containers is you put your hypodermic needles and stuff in them, and then it has to be transported someplace else. But if they actually just went in of course, they don't actually filter the garbage, do they?
They do.
Well, they
do
it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We'll look into it, Fran. I think it's a good idea.
If you had one that goes into your trash receptacle, more people will use it, and because a lot of people don't know what to do with it, and they put it down in the toilet.
We'll ask them, okay?
Huh?
We don't want that.
I mean, you don't want that. That's right. Okay. I wanted to say something.
It makes the fish sick, right?
Pardon?
Makes the fish sick.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
No, never mind. I wanted to say about Lancaster. Thank God I live in Lancaster. I have been going down to Arcadia to visit my mom on the Metrolink. She'll be 90 this weekend, and she's kind of up and down. Anyway, but at the same time, since I'm on Metrolink, they detour because sometimes they have to pick up people and drop off people. Well, anyway, I went through where the areas I lived. I lived like in Highland Park. I lived in Northeast LA. I lived near Alvarado, near Wilshire, and it is a disaster. I couldn't believe it. And some of those areas used to be really beautiful 50 years ago, and they're awful. But then when I come home to Lancaster, and thank God I'm home. It's beautiful up here. I love it, and thank you very much.
Fran, thank you for being you.
Oh, thank you.
Wally Melendez.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
City Council, staff, people of Lancaster. Mayor Paris, I just want to make a few comments and observations here. What strikes me a little bit here is the cash for grass. Vegetation, grass, trees, plants, they cool the desert. So we get rid of all of our grass, then our town will be a degree or a couple of degrees hotter. And that's just an observation. Of course, it's a needed thing. And what drives me, another thing that drives me is the gasoline burning cars in the town. You go out to an area when there's not a lot of cars that are running back and forth. You can tell that the temperature is maybe 1 or 2 degrees cooler. And then you get into an area where there's a lot of cars running back and forth, and you can tell that it's hotter there. And not only hotter, but the pollution that gets all over you and into your lungs. But of course, we live in this area, and I'm impressed that we strive here to lead in the technology to live in a coastal area. That's a good thing, and I'm impressed with the educated people that we have here. I was impressed with the girls that were here earlier, that they can talk a mile a minute, and they got some big project going and so on. But but we need more electric cars in Lancaster.
Especially with the Sheriff's Department.
Well, and speaking about that, Mayor Paris, I do have in mind 2 things that I've been thinking about. This is my observation, that I think that Lancaster needs 2 more departments. Department of the police department, and also a department of public transportation, and that would improve.
Thank you, Wally.
The condition of the lower class.
Thank you, Wally. Willie Green.
Top 1%.
Marvin, I thought you were the Department of Transportation.
I am, but you took over.
Going all electric.
I invited you to the conference.
It's not the same when you have to ask.
Mayor Parrish, council members, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to bring up a subject that I did 6 months ago. While I applaud the city for providing bike lanes to keep our bicyclists safe. I'm all for that. But I'm also all for everyone being able to travel safely. And one place in general is between Avenue K, or the Sierra Highway, back to the bowling center. Excuse me. I hate to say these people, but I'll say our citizens that depend on wheelchairs, electric chairs for transportation. There's no provision for them to travel safely. Not on Sierra Highway between the bowling center and Avenue K. The rocky area, it will either cause damage to their electric chairs or the little sinkholes that cause them to tip. The only way they can travel is to travel on the roadway, which is dangerous. It's not only dangerous to them, it's dangerous to the motorists. And since the last 6 months, I've spoken to several departments which were fruitless. So I'm back here. I know no other place to go to. One engineer told me that he was reactive. So that ended our conversation. Because we don't need reactive people. We need somebody to be proactive to prevent injuries to our people that are already hurt. And, you know, something has to be done. I know that something can be done, but someone has to get behind it for that accomplishment. You know, we got people that are regular citizens, but then we also have veterans. They're in wheelchairs. They cannot travel safely on that stretch of the highway. Someone should look out for them.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
Thank you. Any comments from the council before we close? I take it we don't have an executive session?
We do not.
Okay, good.
I have one comment that we're going to have a press conference and a rally in regards to getting the county to release the 60th and I facility to the homeless. We're having problems out there with the county, so we're going to have a rally out there with all the faith-based community, with all the community that can come out there to support it. We're going to tell the county that please release it so we can have a facility, so our homeless can have a facility for this winter. It's going to be wet, it's going to be cold, and they need a facility, and it's just sitting there. So it is next Wednesday at 10 o'clock at 60th and I.
What's the deal? Why are they reneging? Am I going to have to close that metro station again?
It has nothing to do with Metrolink.
Well, but that was part of the deal, though.
Well, I'd say it's part of the county. It's the county being the county, and there's no good reason.
They're doing feasibility studies. They're doing feasibility studies on how the air conditioner works and the boiler works. And we've tried everything to tell them that we'll make it work one way or another. Just open the doors.
Let's do a feasibility study at the Metrolink.
we need the supervisor to intervene, and that's what is going to be asked.
So has anybody asked the supervisor to intervene?
Yes.
And what did he say?
I think he's going to intervene, but it hasn't occurred yet. His office is in it, but it's probably going to take him personally.
Can I say something, please?
Fran, how could I refuse you?
I thought this was already taken care of months ago.
It was. We had a deal.
Yeah, what happened?
Some bureaucrats getting in the way. You know, if we'd hang a bureaucrat every 6 months, they'd behave. Well, they would. Okay. With that, the City Council meeting is adjourned until Tuesday, October 13th, 2015 at 5 p.m., at which time you will meet your new council member. Carol, my day is done. I am coming home.